Hey everybody, Shane here, Shoebox Legends. Thanks for joining me today for a different sort of episode here on the channel. For the 4+ years now that I've been doing this, I've been primarily a show cards and talk about them type of channel. That's my favorite type of content to produce. It's what I'm most comfortable doing, and it's what I will continue to do as this channel moves forward, hopefully for another 4 years plus. But today's video is going to be a little bit more kind of hobby thoughts. And I guess fewer cards, although we are going to look at a couple of nice ones here towards the end. So bear with me. And I won't be offended if you fast forward or bail out here. I know these types of videos aren't for everyone, but it's a topic that's been on my mind quite a bit recently. And it's something that I've hinted at from time to time here on the channel, but I want to go a little bit deeper on it. And that is the condensing down of my collection. And it's certainly a trend that's become popular in the hobby and in our corner of the internet here on YouTube, in this card community. In fact, my good friend and yours, Greg, over at Midlife Sports Cards, recently made this like his weekly prompt to talk about whether condensing of collections and trading up into fewer, more valuable cards is a good thing or a bad thing for the hobby. And that kind of got me to where I want to just do a quick video about this. And I think I've avoided talking about this for two reasons. First of all, I don't want to be seen as like humble bragging about my collection in any way. This is not about that. Many of you know me personally. I really try to be a humble person. I am not in any way bragging about the collection that I've assembled. There are countless others, thousands of others, tens of thousands of others that have collections that blow mine out of the water. So this is not me bragging in any way. And number two, it almost seems like taboo, at least in certain circles here in the hobby, to talk about like money or finance or budget, which I think is kind of crazy, because it's something that really impacts just about every one of us as a collector and is a kind of a big, important part of this hobby, but it rarely gets talked about. So I think those are two reasons I've kind of avoided it, but let's get into it here. So, basically what happened in my case, I'm condensing my collection almost out of necessity. I've been a hardcore, let's say, accumulator of cardboard for 18+ years now as an adult. As soon as I kind of got situated in full-time work, had an apartment, kind of took care of the essentials in life, I got back into collecting. This was all the way back in 2007, and I haven't stopped since. And in all that time, I have dabbled in so many different things, multiple sports, all the different eras from pre-war, even 1800s, all the way up to present day ultra-modern cards, autograph, set building, etc. And I've sold, at least for the first, 10 to 15 years of that, I sold precious few cards. I basically kept everything that I ever acquired, and I would only trade or sell something if it was a duplicate. And I obsessively tracked all of my cards in a database, a free online database, TCDB, tracked every card I had, and again, would only get rid of a card if it was a duplicate. And my goal was to amass significant cool cards, but also to amass a really large, comprehensive collection. And what happened in my case is, like, as the years went by, the older I got, my motivations changed, my tastes changed. I have limited space here in my home, and I don't really want to devote more than a very small portion of my overall home to storing baseball cards. And all of that, kind of just came to a head over the last few years, and it just got to be too much. And some of the cards started to feel like more of a weight on me than something that I enjoy. Both a physical weight when it comes time for, trying to put my hands on a card and have to move around and dig through boxes and boxes and boxes of heavy cardboard all over my home office and card room, but also, and even more so, a mental weight. Just having all of these cards around everywhere and having to keep track of them and worry about what would happen if I lost my home in a fire and this and that. So all of that just kind of came to a head. Maybe it's me getting older and just wanting life to be simpler and wanting to reduce my responsibilities, etc. But I've really been into condensing, and I want to take this collection that feels overwhelming at times to me and turn it into something much more smaller, manageable, and meaningful. I was really finding that a lot of these cards were not even seeing the light of day or coming out of their storage boxes for sometimes months or years at a time as I got into different areas of my collection or things got buried. And when I put that together with the value that some of these things have gained over the years, especially compared to when I was picking them up, oftentimes many, many years ago, it was a combination of wanting to shed myself of all that mental and physical weight, combined with the knowledge that I could really get some good money for a lot of these cards and use them to transform not only my collection, but kind of my trajectory in life. And I'll keep this part brief because I'm kind of really drifting here, but I've worked at a very high stress job now for 22 years, and I know that it's not a job that I want to do for 22 more years. I'm only 42 years old right now. I'm a little bit too young to call it a career and retire, but I'm very aware that all these cards sitting around in boxes that I'm not really touching or looking at or doing anything with, have some real value. And so I've committed myself more than ever over the last 12 months to making tough decisions, letting things go, even if they bring me some joy, with the realization that the funds that I can get back for them can help me build a better collection and can even kind of set me up even better financially for maybe an early retirement or at least a transition into some work that's a little less demanding and gives me back more free time and flexibility in my life, which I prize more than any sports card, quite honestly. So that's kind of where I'm at. And then what I wanted to get to in this video is, I've been selling a ton of cards like the ones you see up in the background. In fact, at the time of recording this, all 4 of those are currently for sale in my eBay store. But I've also been making some tougher decisions on letting some bigger cards go as part of this. Of course, I want to get the bulk out of here. So I've been listing a lot of small lots. I've been giving away a lot of cards, quite honestly, to friends of mine, just sending them through the mail, random act of kindness packages, care packages, whatever you want to call them. I've given tons of baseball cards to my nephew, who's in Little League now, and he's collecting. So just getting the bulk out the door. But I've sold or planning to sell here a couple of, I guess, really huge cards that if you had asked me a couple of years ago if I would sell them, I would have told you no instantly. But I guess these are a sign of how I've kind of come around a little bit in my approach. So one of those is this card here. I have currently up for sale, buy it now or best offer in my eBay store, my 1940 play ball Joe DiMaggio. It's hard to articulate exactly why. I've enjoyed owning this card. I've had it for years now, but it's just not my favorite, visual appeal card. I'm honored to have any playing era Joe DiMaggio, and this is the only one I've ever owned. And maybe sometime still, in the future before I'm ever able to acquire another one. But I can't justify keeping this and just leaving it sitting in a box and the level of enjoyment that it's bringing me versus, what it's worth essentially in the open market. So I'm hoping to find a new home for Joe D here. And then the other leap that I took is something that I've talked about doing before, and I finally just jumped off here in the month of June, and I'm going for it. I am selling my Roberto Clemente rookie card that you see here. In fact, I took a different approach with this one. I knew it would get enough traction and enough eyes on it being the iconic card that it is, that I actually decided to just list this at 99 cents open auction for 10 days. So this is currently running right now as we speak. The auction ends this coming Sunday, and wherever it ends is where it ends, and I'll just be grateful to get whatever I can get and move on from this card. I love this card. It's an iconic card. I'm honored that I can say that I've owned a Roberto Clemente rookie. Really the main reason I'm parting with this, there is a surface crease or wrinkle here. You can see it's really not coming across, but on the left border of the card, it's actually more noticeable in person than it is on video. There's a wrinkle that goes from the border to his cheek. Now, it does not extend out over his face or do anything to deter, the way his face looks on the card. And other than that, the card is gorgeous. The centering is really good. But just like the Joe DiMaggio, I can't honestly say that this card is bringing me an amount of joy that justifies its cost. And so I'll be letting this one go. If you're interested in a Clemente rookie, you can find this one on eBay, ending in a few days here. And it really feels good. I thought maybe the more I got into this process, the more that I would have, some regret about doing this. But it's really kind of snowballing in the other direction. And I'm finding that the more I sell and the more I'm condensing things down and making things manageable, the more I'm enjoying the process and the more it's making me want to do more of it and consolidate even more. And it's not about getting some huge card. In fact, I would say 80% of what I've made selling cards over the last 9 to 12 months has gone into my investment portfolio or my savings, my cash savings. So I'm not necessarily building into like mega cards here, although I do have a couple on the radar. What I'm basically doing, especially over the last month or two, whatever I make in sales, I split it into 3 buckets. One goes into investments, one goes into savings, and the other bucket goes into a temporary savings to just sit there and grow. And that's the bucket that I will use to acquire, a couple of big cards down the line. So we'll see how that goes, but I'm not in a rush because everything I bring back into the house and every card I acquire now, I feel the weight of that more than I did in the past when I was in my accumulation mode. So all this selling that I've been doing and condensing has also had the side effect or the side benefit of making me much more careful and precise and particular about the cards that I select to begin with, because I don't want to be doing this amount of selling 20 or 30 years from now. And on that note, I want to close out with a couple of cards I haven't shown before. If you've been patient enough and you've made it this far into the video, these are examples of things that are surviving all of my purges so far. I have 2 of them here. One is a new purchase and another one is a card that I've had for a long time, but I've never shown. So on the new purchase front, I landed this beautiful Archive Signature Series 1990 Topps Dave Stieb on-card auto, numbered to 30. This is from the 2024 Archive Signature Series release. And if you've been by the channel before, you probably have heard me say 1990 Topps is the set that started it all. I would have never owned any of the cards in the background or any of the cards I've been selling if it wasn't for me opening packs of this set way back in the spring of 1990 as a 7-year-old kid. It got the hook in me, the baseball card collecting hook, and I'm still at it to this day. And what makes this one even cooler, Dave Stieb threw a no-hitter in the 1990 season. But not only that, he threw that no-hitter on my birthday in 1990. So when this popped up on eBay, this is the type of card that I will keep forever because of the nostalgic value. And to me, this card is more valuable and more meaningful than this card. And I know I might be the only collector on planet Earth that would say that with a straight face, but that's, everybody's journey in this hobby is unique and individual to them. And it really varies depending on your perspective and your history. And for me, this Dave Stieb is just an absolute winner and a no-brainer. So that was a recent pickup. And then one that I've had for years now, in fact, since before I even started a YouTube channel. But I have a bad habit of sometimes not showing my coolest, most interesting cards here and kind of saving them for a rainy day. So I dragged this one out at last from my favorite pre-war set, the Cracker Jack release that came out in 1914 and 1915. This is Forrest Hick Cady, catcher for the Boston Red Sox. And I don't know the first thing about this guy. I actually meant to research him a little bit before today's video, but that didn't happen. But to me, I just love this set. I love the image, and I will always want this example in my collection. I'm a huge fan of catcher cards. I love the early old school tools of ignorance here and equipment that he's wearing. As a Red Sox fan, it just doesn't get better than that. This card has great, vibrant color. It's well centered even, and the only real issue with it, I think the reason it got a 3 is because it has some of the candy residue on especially the lower left corner here. But I mean, these came in Cracker Jack, so to me, that's just part of what makes this card cool, unique, and interesting, and kind of tells the story behind it. So I'm gonna wrap it up there. I try not to go on too long in these videos and be respectful of everybody's time. I can't believe I went 15 minutes in this one. It was mostly me gabbing. So if you stuck it out to the end, thank you, and I really appreciate you spending your time here. I know there is so much good content out there. And yeah, just wanted to really kind of explain my position. I've had a few friends of mine kind of reach out and be like, you're not quitting the hobby, are you? Or have you lost your mojo? And it's not that at all. So hopefully this kind of helps explain where my head's at, what my process looks like, and why I'm making some of the decisions that I'm making with my collection. I'll be back soon with some more standard fare card showing type of videos. But for today, that's a wrap. And until then, enjoy the hobby, everybody. Take care.